In today's lesson we're going to look at how to sketch straight line graphs. Now there are a couple of methods that we can use to sketch straight line graphs. The first of these is called the gradient intercept method. It probably should really be called the gradient y-intercept method. And this method is suitable when our equation is written in the form y equals mx plus c. And that's because we can see what the gradient is and we can see what the y-intercept is by looking at the equation. Let's look at an example. In this example we've got the equation y equals 4/7 x minus 2. Now what we'll do is we'll label the gradient, and remember the gradient means rise over run. So here we've got a rise of 4 and a run of 7. It's a positive gradient, so the line will be moving upwards as we move to the right. Now the other value we have there is called the y-intercept. So our line must cross at the point where y equals minus 2. In other words, it crosses the y-axis at minus 2. So we should label our x and y axes, and I've marked in the point where the y-intercept is, so that's at 0, minus 2. Now what we're going to do is use the gradient to mark in a second point. So the gradient tells us that we have a rise of 4, okay, and that rise of 4 means we should move up 4 units on the y-axis. So that's what I've done there. I've gone up 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if we have a look at the run is 7. So we need to now move in the x direction 7 units. Now remember the run's always positive. So we'll run forward 7 units, and that takes us to our second point. So now it's a matter of deciding what are the coordinates of this point. Now you can use our first point as our starting value. We can see that the x coordinate is 0. Because I've moved forward or run forward 7, I add 7 to that 0, and because I've risen 4 units, the rise of course is to do with the y-axis, that means I'll add 4 to that y value of minus 2. So that's going to give me the point 7, 2. Now that I have 2 points, I can draw a straight line. The second method we're going to use is called the intercept method. Now in this case we're going to find both the x and y intercepts. So if we start with an example, we're going to sketch the graph of the straight line given by the equation 2x minus 3y equals 14. Now the intercept method is the appropriate method to use here because our equation is not written in the form y equals mx plus c. So we're going to start by first of all finding the x-intercept. Now we know that wherever the graph crosses the x-axis, we know that the y value will be equal to 0. So we write that down, x-intercept, y equals 0. And then we look at the equation and we write it down again, but instead of writing the y value, we drop it out, so it becomes 0. So I've just got 2x equals 14. And now if I divide both sides by 2, I get x is 7. So the x-intercept is the point 7, 0. We're now going to do the same thing for the y-intercept. At the y-intercept, we let x equal 0. We go to write down the equation, but we drop out the x term because it's 0, and we write minus 3y equals 14. So now the last step is to divide both sides by minus 3, and so we get y, in this case, is a fraction of minus 14 thirds. So the y-intercept is 0, negative 14 thirds. So we now sketch some axes. We don't need to use graph paper for this. We mark in the x-intercept. So remember the x-intercept was 7, 0 over here. And we mark in our y-intercept, which was 0, negative 14 thirds. And then we connect those with a straight line. And then we just check to see that the gradient there is moving upwards, so we would have a positive gradient. and that's it.